Hello and welcome to the January 18th, 2025 edition of Leadership and Neurodiversity. This is a channel that works towards leadership development for neurodivergent people in a program that will be run by neurodivergent people. I will say this, if you contact me about SEO, marketing, or anything else that is irrelevant, I will block you without any further consideration. Do not waste your time contacting me. I'm not interested. This channel is meant solely for it's meant not to be monetized. It's not meant to be for anything other than what I discuss now. My opinion, what I discuss is my opinion. You're free to disagree with my opinion. You're free to use the comments to do that, but please be respectful of others when you do so. Anyway, let's talk about the agenda for this month's video. First, we're going to talk a bit about what's going on in the realm of DEI and neurodiversity hiring initiatives, and we're going to look a little bit at that. I'm going to talk about my plans for 2025, the first quarter at least, or maybe into April a little bit as well. I'm also going to talk a bit about a pretty big development that I think is going to come up in 2025 for me. I think it'll be interesting. Anyway, let's get started. Okay, so DEI and neurodiversity hiring initiatives really went downhill last year. As far as I saw, I think there was one major neurodiversity hiring initiative. That was Goldman Sachs, and that was at the end of 2024. It's still going on a little bit in 2025 through especially Sterna, but I'm not seeing anything else come along. I think what's going to happen, and I think I've mentioned this in a previous video, that more than likely it will become a situation where internships will be offered and then that we turn into being hired. I think that's how they're going to get around the issue of setting aside jobs for neurodivergent people. I think that neurodiversity will, unfortunately, in the United States, be seen as a lower priority. I think that things are going to be going a little bit further downhill. Now, there's some companies that are committed to DEI, and I think that's great. But I think as far as the workforce goes, don't expect to see a lot of support. As a matter of fact, I think the discrimination is going to be a little less subtle than it has been in the past. And I wish this wasn't the case. I would love to see it where they were when they were 5, 6, 7 years ago, and and we were becoming more and more important in the workforce. But I'm not so sure that we're going to see that now. I would like to see those companies that are committed to DEI and keep going and bring in more neurodivergent people. I think it would be a great idea. As far as neurodiversity hiring initiatives go, there was really only one at the end of last year that I saw, and that was Goldman Sachs, especially Startup. I haven't seen much of anything since. I would like to think that that's going to change, but I think what's going to happen is you're going to see more of a push towards internships that will lead to hires, and I think that's how companies are going to try to get around it. I think with the changes in administration, changes in presidency, changes in Congress, I'm not convinced that things are going to become positive for neurodivergent people. I could be wrong. I hope I am. Anyway, let's talk a bit about um, the plans for this project. I'm in a class right now on international research. I think that's great because I will not be working um, with the American population because of the current situation. I think as I've mentioned, I'm leaning towards working with the Black, African, and Caribbean people of those heritage in the United Kingdom. I think that one of the big concerns I've run into is that autistic people or autistic research tends to focus on white middle class males like myself. I think that's great, but we're not I'm not the only population. We're not the only population that lives with autism. It's worldwide. It's widespread. It's something where anybody can live with it, and anybody can be autistic. Well, I shouldn't say anybody can be autistic, but you can't. Autism is not limited to white middle class males, and I think that's what I want to show is that some people are being overlooked, and I think it's time to get people more a different population involved. And I think it'll be a challenge to see how much of the difficulties involving being promoted or advancing a career is systemic racism, how much of it is being autistic, and how much is being both. And I really think this is going to be fun. This is going to be an interesting challenge. I think it'll be an interesting situation for me to go through. There are a couple of the populations that I'm looking into. I've mentioned the Métis of Western Canada. I've mentioned the Haitian and African heritage Black people in Quebec is a possibility. We'll see what happens. I think I've got time before I make that decision. I'm not going to be doing anything until 2026 anyway. Now, my my current class is one of three that I'm taking this year. The other two are in organizational leadership, and that will close out the classroom portion. I will be finishing my classes on August 17th. That's Sunday. I will be writing out my theories and probably publishing it as a self-published book. I'm going to be looking at an idea for HR professionals and corporate leadership people as well, to get a sense of how we can change the narrative, how I can in neurodiversity hiring and hiring neurodivergent people, how bringing out talent in the neurodivergent population, how to promote and advance people who are neurodivergent, and really also educate about the discrimination that occurs, because unfortunately it still runs rampant. I've had people agree with me on this. I have a career counselor, I have a therapist. They both agree that there is rampant discrimination among neurodivergent people, against neurodivergent people. And, somebody like myself or other people like me would not as likely be in a position that we're in. We would probably be in a higher level position if we were not neurodivergent. And I'm convinced of that in my case, but that's just me. Other people, I'm sure there are other people who feel the same way. I think also that there's going to be some changes in how I approach this subject. I think we're going to go back to the regular format of presenting through PowerPoint slides, starting with the next video, because I think that's working a little bit better for me right now. This format is great for an informal conversation, but I think I need to get back to more formal conversations on the subject. I think also I'm going to be focusing more on the academic side of research. So I think I feel like that change is going to be helpful as I transition from a PhD student to a PhD researcher. I think that's going to help change the way I think, to go back to a more formal format. As far as communication of my thoughts, I figured out a way to do this through multiple mediums. I use this for videos. I use BlueSky for short messages, and I use LinkedIn for longer posts. And I have my website for articles that I want to write, or academic articles that of interest to me. I think that way I can spread it out. I can make it look a little bit better. I'm hopeful that this is a good idea. I think this is going to work well. But the next few videos are kind of scheduled around certain events, except for the next one, which is going to be probably February 15th or 22nd. It's going to be more of a general discussion. Then we go to Neurodiversity Celebration Week, and then we go to Autism Appreciation Month, and that, which is of course April, so that's outside the first quarter. But it's going to be more formal. I think this is going to help. I think for me that's going to be a good thing. Next thing I want to talk about are some changes that I'm going to be making. Now I'm still working. I'm still in the same job that I've been in since September. I'm going to be starting a side hustle probably pretty soon. I have an idea that I'm working on. It's probably going to start in February. It's going to start informally in February, probably formally in April. I'm not going to discuss it here right now. I don't think it. I think you'll see in other videos on another channel that I have, or I will be creating, what that's going to be about. I'm just going to say that. I think that I would like to also have the opportunity to teach as an adjunct this year. I would like to have the opportunity to have more public speaking engagement, or have a public speaking engagement. I do have one scheduled for February 5th with Fordham University students. I can tell you that I'm opening that to the public. I will be providing the link on LinkedIn, on BlueSky. Um, that'll be available. I'll be posting every week about that, and then in the final week, probably 2 or 3 times, and just to see how much interest there is in the subject, and hopefully y'all can come. Now, a little bit different from this year. It's going to be a little bit different from this year because I'm going to be talking more about the state of DEI and my transitioning from student to researcher and what that means. And there's also a big change in from last year in terms of what my research topic is going to be. So hopefully that will all come together nicely. I've already written out slides. I presented them to the powers that be at Fordham. We're all good. It's set for February 5th at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, US. Hopefully you can all join. I'll be sending, again, check LinkedIn, check BlueSky for the link. Okay, so this is a this pretty much is a shorter video. It's just a follow up on what's been going on, and I'll be back next month with the next video in the series. Until then, take care.